are, and we're back again. A massive welcome to all our subscribers, first-time viewers, and LinkedIn members to a one-off special where the question today is to bootcamp or not bootcamp. That is the question. Now, there are differing opinions on whether bootcamps offer any value. I personally have had my own doubts about it in the past, as many of you know. But today, I'm joined by the co-founder of CAPSLOCK, Lorna Armitage, for a live and interactive session where we're going to be looking at what it actually takes to succeed when breaking into cybersecurity, and whether boot camps are right for everyone or who boot camps are right for. And after all, there are always two sides to a story. And this community is about giving people the platform. So I'm super excited and very thankful for Lorna giving up her time today. And a bit about her before we bring her on. She started CAPSLOCK with the goal of making the cybersecurity sector more diverse and accessible. With over 15 years, extensive and varied experience in cybersecurity, she's worked in consulting, training, and education. She's advised both the public and private sector and worked at strategic and operational level. And she's a proud Northerner who's passionate and outspoken about removing barriers to entry in the cybersecurity sector. And more importantly, she really loves Lego. But before we bring her on, and for those new to the channel, I'm your host, Simon Linstead, and by sharing stories and best practice over the last few months, it's led to over 180,000 views here on YouTube. By you, our amazing, 9,161 subscribers. So a massive thank you for your support. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the InfoSec Live community. Now up to 6,000 global members, collaborating with study groups, mentor sessions, and regular networking events to help you raise your game in cybersecurity, no matter what stage you are in your career. So make sure you check it out if you haven't already. If you're too scared to scan the QR code because you do work in cybersecurity, the link for the community is in the description. And after the event today, I'm also going to put the link for CAPSLOCK in there as well, so if you want to check them out afterwards. But before we move on, if you'd like to support the wider InfoSec Live community, or indeed just buy me a cheeky decaf coffee for my owl face mug, we do have a way you can show your appreciation right here on our YouTube channel with 3 tiers of membership, allowing you to show your support in any way that you can. But whether you join or not, being here and engaging with our content is what really matters. So if you're watching this live, please hit that bell, make sure you subscribe, and if you like it, give us a thumbs up and you'll be notified of future content. And remember, each and every one of our live shows gives you, our audience, the chance to engage with our guests. So make sure you drop any questions you may have in the chat. You'll be pleased to know it's time for Simon to stop rambling on and bring his guest on. So let's welcome Lorna Armitage. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Simon.
Do you know what? For a moment there, my microphone stopped working as I was bringing you on. And I just sort of went, panicking, thinking it wasn't going to work.
What do I do?
I know. Look, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I really, really appreciate it. You and I had a really good chat. I think it's a couple or 3 weeks ago now about what you're doing at CAPSLOCK. And be honest, I said to you at the time, I'd had my doubts in the past. Some people had given me some feedback about it. After speaking to you a few weeks ago, and also having the pleasure of speaking to some of your cohort who've got jobs over the last few months, I'm going to say it. I think I might have to stand here and be corrected. You can all see I'm old enough and ugly enough to take that one on the chin. So let's let the audience decide for themselves today. But first off, could I just get you to tell the audience a bit about yourself and a bit more about your background? I know I touched on it a bit. But...
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, you thank you for the fantastic introduction, first of all. It did make me feel very old, though. but
well,
yes,
join the club. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, I'm one of the co-founders of CAPSLOCK, and I guess in a nutshell, my background is in both education and in cybersecurity. As you said, I worked as a senior academic for a number of years in cybersecurity. So developed quite a few undergraduate, postgraduate programs in that as well. But I've always worked as a consultant in cyber as well for well over 15 years now. As an academic, actually, you're encouraged to go out and actually do the consultancy as well. Yeah. And then after leaving academia, I think I'm getting a bit of an echo as well. I don't know if that's my end.
It might just be me. I might have caused that because my earphones just run out of battery. So I apologise if there is.
It's all right.
I'll tell you what I'll try. Let me try muting mine while you talk. Here we go. Try.
No worries. Thank you. Yeah, that is better. I don't like hearing myself speak once, never mind twice. So, and I'm sure nobody else wants to hear me twice. But yeah, so worked as an academic for a number of years, but also in consultancy, as you said, on lots of different projects. So been in cyber a long time, well before it was ever called cybersecurity. So despite these youthful good looks, I think I'm probably older than people people think. So I've been around the block when it comes to cyber and tech in general, really, and education.
I'd like to say experience rather than old, because that's the one that I use for myself. And you certainly don't look anywhere near as old as me, Lorna. So you're either doing something remarkably well or hiding it remarkably well. So
I think it might be the filters, Simon.
is that what it is? I'm conscious that every time I've got my microphone open, you then get an echo. So I'm going to ask you the next question. I'm going to have to mute myself again until my little AirPod here charges to take that away. But you mentioned when we first spoke that you wanted to make the cybersecurity sector more diverse and accessible. What is it that drove you to do that?
I think it's always been a part of how I've worked. In all honesty, it's if if I talk about my own experience as a woman, I've worked in the tech and cyber industry for a long time, and more often than not, I've been the only or one of the few women in the rooms on meetings with clients, whatever that may be. So I've always had that drive to look at how can we make it more accessible, how can we get more diversity into the sector. And I think for many years, I've worked on government initiatives. I've worked on initiatives with the university when I worked there as well to try and drive that diversity. And I think being really honest and straightforward with you, like I said, I'm Northern, and I think most Northerners are quite frank about things. I got fed up of people just sitting around tables talking about this stuff, wanting it to be different, and doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting to see different results.
Love that.
So yeah, so it came to it, and myself and the other two co-founders, it was like, let's try something, let's do it ourselves. We're talking about it as well. I don't want to be another one of those people who just keep talking about it. Let's put the money where the mouth is, so to speak, and do something about it. Which led to CAPSLOCK being founded.
There's enough people in this industry talking a good game without doing anything. So I take my hat off to you for doing that. And you mentioned the diversity. I've done, I think, 10 events now across the UK and US the last 12 months and targeted women to get them along to the event. And I think the most we had was the last one in Tampa, which would have been in September, where out of 40 people, we had 3 women. And that, I think it might be because I'm a middle-aged white man and I put people off, but it could. Well, I love the nervous laugh there. Thanks for confirming that, Lorna. What's next question? How long has CAPSLOCK been going, and what's the journey been like so far?
Oh, so we incorporated in 2019. That's when we first incorporated. But the beginning of that, we were working full-time roles as well as looking at how we develop out the company. So looking at developing the curriculum and all of those, all of the kind of product, because it's not just about the curriculum in CAPSLOCK, it's all the wraparound. We've got full support and everything, really, professional coaching, outcomes, the whole careers team. But so there was the development side of that. And then I think it's fair to say we had to make a decision when lockdown hit. If we're really serious about doing this, we're going to have to quit the jobs and go full time into the organization. And that was tough. That was scary because for those that don't know, my co-founder, Andrew Cullen, is also my wife. So that was sacrificing 2 incomes into the household to start this company.
Nothing like putting pressure on your marriage there, Lorna.
I know, right? I know, right? So so it was a big sacrifice for us and a big decision to make. But again, we both felt that actually we need to do this. If we keep talking about it, we need to jump in and do it. So we did that, and then we launched the first cohort in February 2021. We launched a part-time cohort. I think off the top of my head, we had 30 learners on that. All actually, if you ask now, will admit that right, probably coming up to 16, 20 weeks into the course, still thought it was going to be a scam. And we're still sat there going, okay, when are you going to ask us for money? When are you going to actually ask us for the money? We laugh about it now and still really good friends with a lot of people on that cohort. But, they all say, yeah, we thought it was going to be a scam. And then we launched a full-time one in March, the month after. And it's just gone from strength to strength. From there,
and has it been? I mean, from personal experience, whilst I haven't run boot camps, the community was launched in 2021, and it's been a constant learning journey for me. We've made mistakes, we've done things right, but I think listening to feedback for me has been crucial to see what we can do better. What has that part of it been like for you? Have you had to tweak things? Have you changed things about?
I don't think you'd recognise it now. That first cohort won't
Really?
recognise it. Yeah, absolutely. You know, that first cohort was pretty much fundamentally me and Andrea in the classroom trying to deliver the curriculum, trying to, Jonathan trying to give them some career support. We didn't have we had the tech stack there, but it wasn't matured.
Yeah.
We didn't have automation and things, and yeah, so it's progressed and improved and matured significantly since then. And you're absolutely right. You've got to listen to the feedback. You've got to listen to that constantly. That continual improvement is a massive part of any organization in any sector, right? But I think the one thing for me personally was, or is, and I don't think I quite appreciated this, is just the emotional roller coaster that you
Yeah.
go on with running your own business, but also running a business that really impacts people's lives in the way that CAPSLOCK does. For the majority of them, for the better and in positive ways. But it is an emotional roller coaster for sure.
Thank you, Lorna. There's a comment here, and I want to address this because we talked about this actually the first time we spoke, because I hate the word boot camp, and for
Yeah.
me and for the industry, it's got quite a lot of negative connotations. There are a lot of, and I talk about this a lot online, LinkedIn, and on here. There's a lot of providers who prey on people transitioning from the military,
Yeah.
whose courses cost exactly the same as their budget they've got allocated for training, and they don't deliver on anything. And for me, what I've seen from afar changed the most since I first kind of had a text back and forth with Jonathan back in probably 2021 is the post or the end of the course support. I've
Yeah.
seen you recruit more and more people around the placement part of it, which is completely different to what I've seen other bootcamp providers doing, because it's all very well training people up, right?
Mhm.
But then what happens at the end when they need to go out and get a job? It's great that you can help someone with a CV. It's great that you can, run through some interview prep, but you need to connect people, right? And talk to me about what you've been doing with that and why you don't particularly like calling it a boot camp, but why it is called a boot camp, Lorna.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, and I would totally agree. Actually, I don't think it is a boot camp, and I would also agree with your opinion. And we went back and forth quite a lot at the beginning about do we use the term boot camp? Don't we? I never liked it for all the reasons you said. That in the sector it had negative connotations. Um, we we don't actively market it as a boot camp, but we do use that term in some of it. And the main reason is because the UK government started using that term as an official term.
Yeah.
And the DFE funding is boot camp funding. So it is used as an official term. But for me personally, I don't like the term, and I don't think we are a boot camp because, as you rightly said, it is not just a come in 16 weeks. It's not rote learning, independent. There's just some resources, off you go, and then off you go, and you'll get a job or you won't. It's all about the full program really, and helping support people, and that's not just in learning cybersecurity. It's throughout. We have a whole careers program as well that runs throughout. We have a whole careers outcomes team that work with the learners, that help support them, get them prepped for interviews. We work with over 180 now employer partners who hire from CAPSLOCK, who we've got relationships with and have hired from
Wow.
CAPSLOCK. So it is all about the whole full program, and it doesn't end at the 16 weeks. We've got a fantastic alumni network of hundreds of people now. I think 78% of our alumni are actively engaged with the outcomes team still. We've got like 49. I think there's about 49, 50 people of alumni who are actively interviewing at the moment who finished the course, but we're still
Brilliant.
working with. So it's a full program. We have professional coach. We work on imposter syndrome, confidence. We've got a wellbeing team that works with the learners
We
throughout.
got anything for age reversal yet?
Not yet, but I think that would make me very rich if I ever found that.
I
But
think
no, not yet.
there's a oh, where have you gone? You've jumped out. I don't know if it's something I said. I don't think it was. I'm going to bring up, hopefully Lorna will be back in a second. And I was going to bring up your question, Carrie, actually. Quick question. Is there any help for veterans with CAPSLOCK? I don't know the answer to that personally, but hopefully Lorna will come back. in a second. I can juggle for 5 minutes if you're really bored while we're waiting. Oh, she's back.
Am I back?
I thought I was going to have to juggle then. Do you know that?
Oh,
Hold
that's
on. Let
typical,
me
isn't it?
get you
Typical.
back on here and then move you. Oh, hold on a sec. Where have you gone? Let's make you bigger. That's what I'm trying to do. There we go.
There we go.
I'm going to bring up. I thought it was something I said. I thought I'd been quite polite, but I thought she's just gone now. Story in my life. It's the age comment, wasn't it?
It's typical, isn't it?
We haven't talked about because I know there's different options as to how you can access CAPSLOCK. So I'm going to bring Carrie's question up to get you to answer that, and then ask you to move on to how people can access it and what those funding options are. So Carrie's question is there any help for veterans with CAPSLOCK? So I'm going to mute my mic so you don't have to hear yourself now.
Yeah, well, I guess the short answer is yes, absolutely. We work with tech vets, actively to help veterans as well. Veterans and military spouses is one of our criteria of learners who may be eligible for the DFE funding. So that is 100% funded place on the course as well. You know, we have a small portion of the places that we can offer for that as part of our contract with the DFE, which is great. And that is one of the eligibility criteria for us. There is some DFE eligibility criteria as well, like living in England and working in England, etc. But that is one of ours. And like I said, we work actively with tech vets. We've got a fantastic relationship with them. We've seen veterans come through, and they tend to do very, very well as well in terms of outcomes to veterans. You know, they've got such fantastic transferable skills. You know, when they come through, they get the good outcomes. So, in a nutshell, yes, and get in touch, and we can chat to you about that. But I think in terms of, you know, what you're talking about in terms of how you can access it and the pricing, and I think this is something that I don't think a lot of people know. Only 10% of our learners pay us up front for our course. You know, the rest is spread. We've got a number of different financial options that help people access it. You know, for us, it's all about removing barriers, and we don't want finance to be a barrier to accessing CAPSLOCK. So we've got what are called future earnings agreements available, and that's basically you don't pay anything until you've got the job. At the other end of it, you're earning over a certain amount, and then you pay a percentage back on a monthly basis. And we have an FCA regulated provider who works with us to facilitate that. We work with a fantastic organisation called EdAid, and they offer interest-free loans from 3 months to 3 years to pay when you come on the course as well. And there's absolutely no interest there. We of course have the DFE funding as well for people who are eligible for that. So they can access it that way.
Let's just stick on that because you shocked me a little bit when we were on a call a few weeks ago, which was one of my main kind of concerns about the CAPSLOCK course. You know what I'm going to say here as well, don't you? So when people come in, so for me, 4 years ago, destroyed my own life, unemployed, looking for work, looking at reskilling, I can go to you and the DFE and get that funded, right?
Yeah.
And you get paid for that straight away, do you?
No, I wish. No, it's not how it works. It's not how DFE funding works. Basically, the way that DFE funding works is, so if you were eligible, you met our eligibility criteria and the DFE eligibility criteria, you come in, we enroll you on the course, get everything like any other learning. If you've been on the course for, I can't remember what it is, but you've got to do a percentage of the course first to show that you're staying on the course, you're engaged. Then we get, and I can't remember what I think it's 40% of it from the DFE. Then when you finish the course and you've had a meaningful interview for a role that we can evidence that you've had that meaningful interview, we get another percentage. I think that's 30%. And then when you've got a role and you've got that offer of employment, that's got to be sure that you're using the skills that you've gained on the course, and that it's, you know, for over a certain, it can't be like, you know, just a 2-week offer of a contract. It's got to be a permanent offer there for a certain amount of time. Then we would get the remainder of the cost of the course there. And of course with DFE, you know, the cost of the course, where it's including VAT, so we don't get the VAT from the DFE either. You know, so you're getting it in parts, and we've got to meet our obligations to the DFE as well to support with learners to get them the outcomes that we want, which isn't a problem for us. You do see some boot camps spinning up for this DFE funding. We haven't spun anything up here. We're using the existing course as part of the DFE funding, and the whole point of our course is to get those outcomes, to get people into new careers in cyber, and to help them change careers and hopefully change their lives for the better.
Sorry, I forgot I'd muted myself then. And I think, and you clearly have done that. You know, you did a post on LinkedIn a few weeks back. Someone had obviously pissed you off a little bit. They've been making comments on LinkedIn, and you probably had enough of it. And the support you got on that post, Lorna, was phenomenal. And I think for me, that was the start of my perception changing. Well, maybe I should find out a bit more about what they're doing at CAPSLOCK rather than just listen to the people who haven't succeeded on it, which leads me to my next question. And we spoke about this off air, as it were, a few weeks back. I mean, I've used boot camps in the past in financial services, what I would call a traditional boot camp, which CAPSLOCK isn't, which is where I had knowledge. I didn't know enough, though, to pass the exam. So I went on a 2-week residential course to bump. It was tax and trusts. It's pretty dry. But that really helped me get through because I was committed to it. I needed the outcome to have my authorization with the Financial Conduct Authority. So I had a reason to do it. So the question after that long preamble is, who do you see succeeding with CAPSLOCK? Are there a certain type of people? And I don't mean policemen, politicians, teachers. I mean more mindset, personality, drive, etc.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what you're saying. It's not about where you've come from, really. Everybody comes with transferable skills that they can bring and experiences that they can bring. And when you look at the backgrounds of our learners, they are so varied. I think the one thing that the successful learners have in common is that attitude. Is that it's having the right attitude, it's engaging, it's being dedicated, passionate, and hardworking, and wanting it, really. And they're the key things to success. It's not about your academic background, how many GCSEs, A levels you got, whether you've done a degree. And I come from an academia background as well, so we saw that in academia as well. The ones that were coming through with 3, 4 A-level A stars weren't necessarily the ones that were successful. It's not an indicator of success.
Let's not get started on the current education system issues, because that's probably a whole different show, isn't it? Still stuck in the Industrial Revolution, not fit for purpose. I've got six children who've gone through school at different ages, and there's not one part of it I think that's fit for purpose, especially the part where my 15-year-old is now 1 year left before doing his GCSEs, still hasn't been taught about how businesses work, doesn't know anything about paying bills, wouldn't have a clue if he walked out in the world tomorrow. And I think that needs to change. I see Sully is in the chat, who, if I remember rightly, Sully, you've got a very similar background to me as a financial planner before you came along to CAPSLOCK. Is that right? I think he's been on CAPSLOCK, hasn't he?
He has indeed.
Yeah.
Hey,
There we go. Look at that. Next question. What plans for the future? What's next? We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left. So.
I mean, more of the same, continuously improving. As I said, it's essential for any organisation. We're always looking at that. How can we make things better? Automation, just on the operational side. For us as well, we're working more now with businesses as well. So we've had the BAE sponsored cohort, for instance. We've worked with BT on reskilling their internal talent. So more of that, just getting more opportunities for people, whether that be individuals coming through the course, or working with more businesses so we can get them the roles, but also working with businesses to look at how they can reskill internal talent as well. And also we've launched Deploy now, and the way Deploy works is we hire the CAPSLOCK learners, and then we're putting them out into businesses on a day rate like contractors, and giving them the opportunity there to get that experience, with the hope that it will then lead on to a permanent position in that business as well.
That is an amazing idea, a really, really good idea. Just so I've got a bit of more understanding, and so have people who watch it. So I came into the industry, like many others, wanting to be the world's best penetration tester, which I clearly never was, considering the last bit of coding I ever did was actually on my Sinclair ZX81 Spectrum. So things have changed a little bit since. See, you're not even old enough to remember that either.
I am.
What specific roles are you preparing people for? Is it a generic qualification? What is it you think people are suited for when they finish the I'm not going to say boot camp, the CAPSLOCK course?
I think it's a number of roles, and we have such a variety of roles that they go into. I think the thing with CAPSLOCK is, and we see this as well as as negative feedback, if you like. Well, it's not technical enough. Well, we don't profess to be a technical course. We're not a technical course. It is looking at cyber and the whole holistic approach of cyber. So you're looking at it from all the different perspectives. And what it does is give people a real good fundamental base knowledge of what cybersecurity is, where it sits in a business. It gives them some opportunity to look at the hands-on tech as well. And we do that. We look at offensive and defensive security. But I think what it really does is hone those critical thinking and problem-solving skills that everybody in cyber needs, no matter what role you go into. And it's interesting you said about pen testing, because we get a lot of people coming in going, I want to be a pen tester. And then they go through GRC and they're like, oh, actually, this is really interesting. I didn't even know this was a thing. Or people coming in, looking at GRC, going out to pen testing. But in terms of the roles that they go out to, I think probably about 40% go into SOC roles, which is a real good a good way to get into cyber as well as a first step. But we've got people going out into consultancy roles, project management, awareness, training and awareness, threat intelligence analysts. So it is a real variety of roles that they go into, because I think as people come through, they're allowed the opportunity as well to explore different areas and decide which ones they actually enjoy and like.
And I think that's where many people go wrong coming into the industry, me being one of them, was focusing on, I want to do that cool job first, which actually isn't that cool and involves 50% of your time report writing, which I can't think of anything worse than. I think getting that high level view of the whole industry is invaluable. And I think it's something that too many organizations don't do as a start off. We're pretty much out of time, but there is one question I want to bring up that Helen's brought in. So let me just bring this up. I'm going to mute myself so you can answer it. Is that okay?
Okay.
In academia in cyber, we saw restrictions on tools we needed our students to use for their degrees as they were seen as dangerous. Did you experience this as well? I can guess what those tools are, Helen, I think.
Yeah, I'm assuming, I'm going to make the assumption that Helen's talking about when I was working in academia, and yes, to some extent, we actually built out, we called it was a cybersecurity interdisciplinary centre, and as part of that, we actually had an industry spec pen testing lab that the master's students could work in, and work with industry and do sort of real life projects. But it took a lot to get that signed off at the university. It was quite difficult to get that in place, and of course there was a lot of restrictions around it, and we did a lot on ethics and looking at scope and what you can and can't do. But there is those restrictions, which was one of the fab things for me about starting CAPSLOCK, right? Because we had a blank slate, and we could
do what you want.
Exactly.
I've never been very good for a corporate environment, I've got to be honest. There is another question come up which might tell us more about your plans for the future. I don't know, it might do. Prashant, thanks for this one. Is InfoSec cybersecurity the only areas you cover?
At the moment, we do have a secure software development curriculum in the back pocket.
Nice.
Ready to look at. But yeah, at the moment, what we want to do is really kind of solidify that cyber curriculum, but we are looking at branching out to other curriculums. And what we actually have got, we've got a whole framework and methodology around the learning approach that we use on team-based learning that you can then apply to other areas, and it's really effective and works very well.
I think we're going to see CAPSLOCK grow and grow and grow. And there was a comment earlier from a good friend of mine, Richard Foster, who's in the audience. Where is it? I'm looking for it. Here we go. CAPSLOCK have done an amazing job on branding. You are everywhere. I dread to think what your marketing spend is, and I agree with that completely. One last thing then before we go, I'm going to have to stay unmuted, Lorna. Sorry about that. If you're brave enough and you want to find out more, there is a QR code that you can scan. I will put a link in the description after I've picked up my 15-year-old son from running training this evening. So it'll be a couple of hours. So if you want to check out CAPSLOCK, give that a scan. If you're watching the replay, again, please give it a scan and take a look at what they're doing. Lorna has changed my mind about what CAPSLOCK are doing. I'm really glad that we had a chance to have a conversation. I think we both agree boot camps aren't for everyone, but they're definitely for a lot of people. And I think if you are only UK based at the moment for these courses, or
You can do the course outside of the UK because it's remote. Unfortunately, because most of the financial stuff around the FCA stuff is you have to be in the UK to access that.
okay, brilliant. I suppose next question is, if this works so well in the UK, could we maybe, if you fancy the US market, love to help take you over there. I think they could do with this. Most of the boot camps that I see ripping people off are US based. I've got to be honest with you, but there are, not going to name names. I'm releasing a report, or the community is releasing a report in about 6 weeks' time that looks at a number of boot camps in the industry and gives a kind of community score for them. CAPSLOCK weren't involved in that before, but what I'd like to do probably early next week is just send you a pro forma to ask you some questions and get you involved in that as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Lorna, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Everyone had a great audience tuning in today as well. So thank you so much to everyone who's tuned in. I'm now off to drink another cup of decaf before I go and pick my son up. So wish you all a lovely evening. And Lorna, again, thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks for having me. Cheers, everyone.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.